We, no, no, it's just, we get Brian, Walter,
Oh, okay, the guys at home
I get
also
Andrew?
help with muting. Yeah.
co-host Andrew, so we can participate. Okay,
4, 5, 6. All right.
start my video. Script. Hello, everyone. This is Chuck Teroni, Reading Conservation Administrator, pursuant to legislation superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, relating to the COVID-19 emergency. The October 25th, 2023 public meeting of the Reading Conservation Commission shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. The meeting shall instead be held virtually using Zoom. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. All materials are available at the following link, which I will provide in the chat. Martha Moore, the Conservation Chair, will facilitate this meeting. Please note that there will be a public comment period for each hearing. Each vote will be taken during this meeting by roll call, and we'll begin with a roll call attendance. Martha, can you please review tonight's agenda and take tonight's attendance? And I'll start recording.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:05. And just a correction, tonight's meeting is actually hybrid. So we have people here in person and also people participating virtually. Okay, let's start with the people on Zoom from the commission and then in the room.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so Brian,
Brian Bowe, Vice Chair, present.
Walter,
Walter Talbot, member present.
Bill,
Bill McCann, member present.
Andrew,
Andrew Driven, member present.
Tony,
Tony Rotalakis, member, present.
and Martha Moore, chair, present. Okay, the hearings tonight that are scheduled are 0 Small Lane, 413 Main Street, an amended order of conditions for 62 Range Road, and a new hearing tonight for 18 Lynetta Lane. We'll also discuss some old and new business and approve the minutes for October 11th. So that's basically what's on our schedule, a few other minor things. 0 Small Lane has requested to continue to the November 8th meeting, and we need a motion to request that.
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to continue 0 Small Lane to November 8th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Brian Rowe in favor.
Walter?
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCann in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. 6-0-0, it's unanimous. Okay, 413 Main Street. They have also requested to continue until November 8th. So can I have a motion for that?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to continue 413 Main Street to November 8th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCann in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. That's also unanimous. Okay, do we have anybody here representing 62 Range Road?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I will read the blurb about 62 Range Road while Chuck lets them in. Continue the public hearing on an amended order of conditions filed by Robert Ward, Reading Rifle and Revolver Club pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to install a sewer and water connection to the existing municipal sewer system in Simon's Way. A 6-inch lateral and hydrant will be installed adjacent to the west side of the addition. All of the work is within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. 01867, and on the Conservation Division page under the project by year, Assessors Map 46, Lot 15, DEP file number 270-0761.
Sure. Hi, Mark. I was just wondering if you want me to bring the plan up or or is that something that you're going to manage tonight?
I can share my screen and make it available.
Sure. And then don't forget, for the record, just state your name.
Yes, good evening, members. This is Mark Slager from Allen Engineering here on behalf of Reading Rifle and Revolver Club. Since the last meeting, we've made some minor modifications to the plan at the request of the commission. We've added some 12-inch mulch socks wherever there is work within the buffer zone between the limit of work and the adjacent wetlands. Primarily adjacent to the existing paved areas and adjacent to some of the gravel areas where they've worked. Also, since our last meeting, I met with Chuck out on the site and we determined a best location for the water main connection from Range Road to the existing water main behind the ice rink. I've got it shown here on the screen. I've also specified a distance from the utility pole, so there's no confusion in the field as to where that location is supposed to be. Also, Chuck had flagged the tree that marks where the water main is going to cross. There is a tree there that needs to come down, but it's also already been topped due to the power lines that are right there, so it's not a very substantial tree. And then there's a couple of small saplings that would have to get removed as well. Going on to the next page, further down, closer to the clubhouse, you see I've added the 12-inch mulch socks adjacent to the work area. And then lastly, over near the building, there were 3 dead trees that need to be removed. I've shown those on the plan and labeled them to be removed, so there's no confusion as to which trees they are and how many have to be removed. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the commission. I believe I've addressed everything that the commission had requested.
Anybody from the commission on Zoom have any questions or comments?
No.
Mark, could you stop sharing your screen?
Sure.
I don't see anybody raising their hands.
I have one comment.
Okay.
I think that's a lot of erosion control in that area, and I'd ask the commission to allow me to kind of modify that a little bit and only put it where it's needed. Because I mean, this is a quick project. Mark, how long do you think the project would take from the clubhouse out to the skating parking lot?
I would guess probably 3 weeks. On the yeah, it could go a little bit longer. We don't know if there's, what we're going to find when we start digging, because we'll have to do the water main and we'll have to do the sewer, and then there's going to have to be some repaving on those trenches as well. So depends on the availability of contractors. I think actual work time, it might be, maybe, a week for each project, but I don't know how much time there's going to be between each phase of the project.
Okay, I take that back. Seems like you would need erosion control with that long project done.
So the erosion control he showed on the map, you're comfortable with?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Tony, did you have any comments or
No
questions?
comments.
Okay, I think we talked at our last meeting about that, puddle of concrete that might be a cover for a sewer, septic. That's going to be removed or something, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I didn't have any other questions on my notes. So,
There were 3 dead trees out on on the site. I reviewed those. They are in fact dead.
Yep.
They're close to the resource area, possibly in the resource area. Mark would like to remove those, and that should be part of this approval also.
and he's got that on the plan he just presented. Yeah, that's near that gravel access road, I believe, by the building.
Yeah, any conditions on those trees?
I guess the question is, does he leave the tree lying where it falls, or do we pull it out? If it's in the resource area, we probably want to pull it out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only question would be to leave a portion for habitat, but I think that would be up to the Conservation Commission.
Well, what about the stumps? Would we leave a low cut on the stump? I don't think we'd necessarily want to grind them.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. So we usually leave like a snag for, is it snag or, yeah, I think it is, snag for habitat. 8 to
Sometimes,
10,
yeah.
usually 8 to 10 tall. But I'm not sure what you think about that, Mark. Not to say what you think about that, whether that should happen or not, but that size, that remains. Because if there's some sort of path there and they could fall on the path, that's not what we want. We just want to leave a portion to break down and become habitat later, and then hopefully it would fall away from any, used area.
I
My
think
mem-
there's 2 trees that are dead right next to the gravel path one of them is leaning. I'm not sure if the other one is leaning, but those would be very easy to just completely remove. The one that's closer to the resource area, it's probably best if we just leave like maybe a 6 to 10 foot snag, not try and get the stump out of there, and that would provide some pretty decent habitat value. But I think it would be just too much effort and too disruptive to try and get the stump out of that location.
And that's what I was remembering, was at least one of the trees was leaning, which wouldn't be a very good candidate for leaving as a snag if it's already leaning over. So,
You said you're getting the stump out. You're not excavating the stumps out of any of these 3 trees, right? You're just going to cut it flush.
Well, the one that's leaning, I think it's leaning from the stump. So it's just leaning, so we can just pull that one out. We'll cut it and then just pull that one out. I'm not digging into it, but just pull it. The other one, we can just cut off at ground level or, maybe a foot or 2 above ground level.
All right, I have that.
okay. Is that something members of the commission are comfortable with? Andrew?
Yes, that's my memory too, that there were 2 leaning trees, one that had fell over and the stump was up. And then the third that was farther back. And leaving that as a snag makes sense to me.
Okay, all right. Are there any members of the public on Zoom? You can use your reaction function and use the raise hand button under the reaction if you want to make a comment, or any members in the room who want to make a comment on this project. Okay, all right. Are we ready to close this hearing? Can I have a motion to close?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to close the hearing on 62 Range Road.
Second.
Okay,
Brian, all in favor?
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Andrew Dribbin in favor.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay. That is, oh, nope, we need to vote to approve or issue?
Issue, yeah.
To issue the amended order of conditions. Can I have a motion to do that?
Somebody else is up.
Just move it. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, this is Brian. I'm making a motion to issue an amended order of conditions for 62 Range Road.
Just tell me a second.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCance in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. Good night.
Okay, 18 Lynetta Lane. That's all you guys? Okay. All right, so let me read the blurb and then we'll get started, and Chuck's gonna pull up your plans, I believe. We're going to open the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by Gregory Barnes under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to demolish an existing garage? That's not right. No, that's completely not right. Okay, yep, somehow we got the wrong thing in here. They are proposing to put a sun porch on next to an existing deck. Okay, so
Yeah, then this is
Something got stuck.
It's in the email. I can read it.
okay, thank you.
18 Lynetta Lane, the applicant is proposing to construct a 15 by 15 foot addition in a 9 by 15 deck with stairs. The new work will be supported by 16 hand dug footings. The application construction plans along with a site plan shows that the wetland line and jurisdictional setback have been uploaded to the website. A site visit was conducted on Monday.
Okay, I'm not sure it's a 9 by 15 deck with stairs either, because the deck already is there. Oh, yeah,
the 15 by 15 addition and a 9 by 15 deck with stairs.
no, but the deck's already there.
No,
They're adding a patio at ground level.
so let's let them help us out here and start their project off. So if you're coming up to talk, you have to stand at the podium and speak. So is someone here that can tell us what the project is that you're doing?
Sure. Mike Malley, I'm the homeowner. Right, so we have an existing deck off the second floor in the back, which you guys saw during the walkthrough. So to the side of that, we're proposing to add an addition, approximately 15 by 15 enclosed room. And then we're modifying where the stairs are currently from the deck to go down to a stone patio that would be built off of the basement walkout at ground level.
And do you have the plan for that? It's like this, the next page.
This, sure. Let me see how many pages I have here.
Yeah. That shows, well, that still doesn't show the patio. I've got one that says proposed ground level framing plan, which has the patio shown. Okay. We've got the fronts of all the pages, but not the backs of all the pages. Okay. All right. We can work off what you've got.
Yeah, so your project is to do the 15 by 15 addition and a 9 by 15 deck. No ground patio,
No,
or is that part of the project also?
Yeah.
and the deck's already there, Chuck.
Where's,
That's existing deck. That's
That's
proposed
staying.
sunroom.
The proposed deck should say,
Yeah,
so it says proposed deck,
Mhm.
that's there.
the proposed deck is there, but the proposed sunroom is going to be built. And where does the ground-based patio, where is that going? You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Is this a good,
Yeah, there's a better, the one you had that had the whole house.
One that Martha has, that one.
This shows where the patio is.
Yes.
yeah, I think that's in the order of conditions, which or the application, which I didn't, upload there.
It would be like at the bottom of the stairs with that side.
See if I can grab that off the.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like what happened was this is double-sided and Chuck only has scans of the fronts of all of these pages. So I have twice as much as what he has up there.
Mhm.
Okay, and when we were out there and we saw it, if you're looking at this picture here, Chuck, with the red, the white part here is existing, the red is what they're proposing, and then the patio is over on this corner of the house.
Just trying to grab the plans off the website.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we did have a site visit out there on Monday morning, and we got to meet the homeowner and see where they have marked on the ground where the patio is going to be. We got to see where some footing holes have already been dug, and they need to be able to finish that project to build that proposed sunroom. Is there somebody from the commission who wants to describe anything else we saw while we were at the site visit? If so, please use the raise hand function so that I can see you, as we've got the plans up. Okay, Brian Bowe has his hand raised.
Yeah, okay. So while we were there, we noticed that there's a silk fence that goes around the construction area. And it would be a good idea to have a mulch sock at the base of that, because it doesn't really hug tightly to the ground, so it's possible for something to erode out underneath that. Stockpile isn't on the plan, but to the facing the back of the house, to the right of the proposed sunroom would be a good place to put any material coming or going. It's about as far away from the resource as you can get there. We did have a conversation about some vegetation that could be removed and some that should be kept. What could be removed, there was a vine of bittersweet that we pointed out. There's a few samples of that. Additionally, there's a multiflora rose. So those can/should go away. Ones actually Martha pointed out, some ones that would be good to keep. There was a blackberry bush, and I forget what another one was, but either way, we did point that out to the homeowner while we were there. We talked about where the runoff from the existing roof goes. There's a pipe running down, again, facing the back of the house, down the back left. And then there's a pipe underground that exits right out nearer the resource, say maybe 15 feet from the house. Obviously, that's not new, that's existing. I don't know that we can say anything about that, but it does prompt the question about what is the runoff plans for the new addition. So we can get to that, but the only other thing that I wanted to talk about was the patio. While we were there, we talked about pervious pavers. So I don't know if the homeowners had time to think of that since our visit, but those are my 2 points I'd like to hear discussed. One is runoff from the new sunroom and pervious pavers. Okay.
Hi, guys. My name's Greg Barnes, the licensed contractor. We agree, we think it would be a great idea to add the silt sock at the bottom of the fence. We were discussing the drainage. We know that one does go underground. I think it would be a good idea to make the right side go underground as well. And if we can, or we will add the gutter on the back, or you're looking at it from the back, the right side, and we can tap into that same drain. Regards to the pavers, we're going to do a linear drain on the back along the house. Whether it was going to be a French drain or a linear drain, I haven't quite narrowed that down. We're looking more like we're going to do the linear drain because we can match the color of the pavers. He doesn't want to do a permeable paver.
So my concern with that approach is you'd be tying in the new roof, also going to a pipe that's going essentially unfiltered, untreated, right out towards the resource. At least from my perspective, and I'm open to what the rest of the commission says, but I'd rather see something like a drip trench or what have you, so it doesn't run unencumbered right out towards the resource.
Like a French drain along the back
Well,
side.
well, hold on for a second, because I'm looking at the plan that looks like this. I don't know if Chuck can pull that one up.
Pull that one up. Stop sharing for a second.
And from that plan, it looks to me like the property already has 2 roof dry wells in the ground that are existing dry wells. And is that where you're planning to tie into?
Yes.
Okay, so those hopefully would have enough capacity for this extra roof surface. That's the key question. So let's get the plot plan up and we'll see.
It's interesting that there was already existing dry wells, but that one side of the roof exits through the pipe right out to the resource.
Because that's, I'm guessing because it's further away from the resource line.
The one we were looking at was actually the corner closest to the resource area. So, so there's a dry well where the 3 topo lines are to the left front corner of the house. And then there's a dry well off the back corner nearest your sunroom. And they seem to tie into those opposite corners. But I wasn't on the committee when the original plan for the original house was approved, so I don't know what the capacity of those dry wells are. But are you planning to tie into, yeah, the one Chuck's pointing to there? Is that the one you're gonna tie the sunroom into?
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts from commission members on whether that's enough or whether we need to look into the original plans for the house several years ago and figure out whether those dry wells would have enough capacity?
How much additional square foot is it going to capture? Does maybe Bill has a comment?
Okay, and Andrew has his hand raised. So let me call on Andrew first and then Bill after that.
Oh, but Bill had his hand up first, but I will say that I agree with Brian. I don't want to tie it into whatever's going into the wetland. If it's tied into that dry well, I'm okay with that. Or not tied into any ground system would be perhaps better. So you manage it somehow on your own land. But yeah, definitely not. I agree with Brian. I definitely don't want it tied to the one that's going to the wetlands.
Agreed.
And Bill,
Yeah, I saw the property on Sunday at 2. I knocked, of course, there didn't appear to be anyone home. So I don't want to interrupt this particular topic, but since I have had my hand raised for a while, My question actually is about the landscape play area in the back, the extensive landscape play area in the back. I want assurance that it's not intruding into the zone of natural vegetation or the no structure zone, the 25 and the 35. That wasn't clear for me. Looking at it, it's quite a large landscaped play area. And if it does intrude into those zones, that's something the commission has to deal with. So that's my comment. Thanks.
This is Mike. I can address that. Chuck actually came out a long time ago when I was building that, and we talked about spacing, and that was how I knew about that 10-foot thing we were talking about on Monday. So it is more than 10 feet from the 25-foot barrier, and I did submit a small
Minor project permit.
minor project permit. I don't know how that, it's on record at least, but so.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Actually, Bill, if I can add, I did check into that when I was out there. I went back to the resource. It is okay from that perspective.
Okay, so, so the real question we're still dealing with is, it sounds like it's okay to tie the sunroom into the dry well that's on the plan nearest the stairs off the back of the deck. Are there any members of the commission who have an issue with that? Chuck?
Yeah, I think that they should reach out to the developer or the engineer and find out if that can handle that capacity.
Okay,
And I think that's a good idea. And that could be a condition. I mean, we don't have to delay this, but I know the person is still around. He may have been around the day that you were, he told me he was around when you were reviewing this 18 Lynette Lane. So he saw the commission there and he asked me about it. So I know that developer is still around, and you could reach out to him and ask him if that would handle that additional capacity. I think that would be a good idea.
okay,
That's Bill, right? That's
Steve Knight. So Steve Knight did the properties on the other side, but it would still be appropriate to ask.
Oh, he'll know. Yeah, okay, I didn't know because he didn't do
Right.
okay. And he's the person we met at 19 Joy.
Mhm.
And he had told us there that he did the houses on the other side, but
Yeah.
he would know,
Yeah,
he would know what the plans were.
I think it would be the best
Okay,
bet at this point. That wouldn't
Okay.
probably cost a lot of money or any money at all to just run it past Steve and see what he thought. But, you know, but we do need to know what, if it couldn't handle that capacity, what's the next step?
Mhm.
What would the commission want at that point?
right. Okay. Well, I think we're not supposed to design the project, right? So,
But you could say you're okay with it just spilling out on the ground if it doesn't work, or digging another, you would like to see some more infiltration. And so you could give choices and then they can choose what to come back with.
sure.
Greg Barnes, would tying into a 4-inch approved PVC, almost like leaching, perforated leaching along the house, not out into the yard, would that be acceptable?
So that seems, maybe this would help better. So the commission has approved drip trenches before, basically 2 foot by 2 foot crushed stone, filter fabric on other plans. Maybe that's an option.
Okay.
Then get the direction from the commission about just having downspouts that spill out on the ground. And then the last option would be to check and see if you could tie it into that dry well. I guess there's another option, or you could dig an additional dry well. I think that you're gonna find out that there might be more capacity there than you expect.
Gotcha,
Just want to verify that.
gotcha.
I don't have much of an issue with it spilling out onto the ground. There's a lot of grass in the backyard. It's at least 10 feet to the zone of natural vegetation,
Mhm.
which is there specifically to help protect the resource area. And I
Okay.
think the amount of runoff that that we're talking about in a 2-inch storm. It's not even, it'd be close to 200 gallons, which I think in context of the whole area really isn't all that much.
Okay,
We're not talking about a really significant source. It's standard roof tiles, roof shingles. There's nothing outrageously hazardous with that. I think we'd probably be okay with it soaking into the ground and running and feeding the zone of natural vegetation with a little extra water.
Okay.
If there's no space, if there's no extra capacity in the existing structure, I think whatever spillover there is, I think it'd be okay.
I would only add that we, and I like how that's phrased. If these other steps don't work, last step would be, the commission would be okay with having a spill out on the ground. It's typically forever, the commission has always said any new structure has to infiltrate the roof runoff. And that's what we've done consistently for forever. So as long as we're checking first, and then this is the second option, I think that I would agree it going that way, but I don't want to give up and have other applicants coming in and saying, I'm not going to infiltrate the roof runoff, because it's important these days to do that. And it's important with our MS4 permit also.
yeah, and I would be concerned if there's just a downspout that opens out, that you get erosion and the lawn gets dug up by the force of the water coming down the downspout. So I'd want to see some perforated pipe or something to spread the water out and not have it all gush out in one spot.
And I think what makes this parcel different is that there really is that very robust, 15-foot zone of natural vegetation. It's not like other properties where it's a couple of inches or a few shrubs. I mean, this is.
Yeah, the vegetation goes right up to the markers,
Yeah.
the stone bounds. Yep. Okay, I think we can pick the image down, Chuck, and give a chance for people on Zoom to weigh in. Brian?
Yeah, we didn't talk yet about the previous pavers on the patio.
Yeah, hold on though. Are we finished with the runoff from the sunroom? I think we're at the point where the builder is going to check with Steve Knight and find out what the capacity of the dry well is. And if that doesn't work, then some other way of infiltrating, say a stone drip trench or some sort of perforated something to spread the water out. And I think that would be sort of our order of preference.
Okay.
First, does the dry well hold it? Second, can you put a drip trench? Third, something to keep it from gushing all out in one spot.
Gotcha.
Does that seem comfortable to members of the commission? Brian, Bill, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just quickly, yeah, I am comfortable with that, and I just wanted to reiterate or echo what Chuck said. I was just taking a quick look at the local regs and how they set out there. They're really, you should try to avoid any, and it does use the word significant to Tony's point, but runoff, additional runoff to the resource area. And I think that's the interest that underlies what Chuck is sharing about how the commission has been very consistent in this regard. There's so many best management practices now that many of them are, fairly straightforward to install that make it possible. I think we should always go for that when we can. That's my comment. Thanks.
Okay, so I think that covers the roof runoff question. Then the patio question Brian brought up is basically the same question. If you're putting in a patio that's, I don't see dimensions here, but it looks like it's about 12 feet or so.
I believe it's 9 by 16.
9 by 16. So what's going to happen to the rain that hits that? Is it going to infiltrate into the ground, or is it going to be running off? And the patio is much closer to the zone of natural vegetation than the sunroom. So it's actually got less distance to travel over the ground before it gets there. So often we've had people put in pavers with pervious, it's not stone dust, but a larger particulate matter in between the pavers so the water can sink in the cracks in between every paver. Or there are pavers that themselves are pervious that you can purchase that way. So those are two possibilities. And then you had also talked about some sort of a linear drain along the edge. What would that actually look like?
Backside by the house, so the patio would have a slight pitch back towards the house, and it would basically just get drained into the sub patio, the fill.
Okay,
You have a 3/4 crushed stone, 3/4 by 3/4, and then you have the dust, I forget what it's called, and then you have the actual pavers, and that's all compacted. But the linear drain would basically allow the water to leach into that 3/4 crushed stone, that 9 by 16 patio, 3/4 crushed stone. So it's pretty significant crushed stone.
so it's sort of acting like a stone drip trench, only it's under the pavers.
Exactly.
Okay, do we have a detail that shows the layers of that and how it works, or is that something that's not in these plans you've given us yet?
In those plans, I can get something if that helps.
Okay. Members of the commission, any thoughts? Or Chuck, any thoughts?
I'm concerned that you would direct the water back towards the house, but that's not a conservation concern.
Yeah, it is a concern, but with the drain, it's like guiding it. We really wouldn't want to put it on the edge of the patio. It's just, one, it's unsightly, two, I mean, it's.
So why can't this be pervious pavers? Is there a reason?
No, we haven't really picked out pavers yet, and if the homeowner decides he likes the look of the pervious pavers, we would love to do that.
Were you excavating 12 inches at least?
Into the grade, I don't know, I haven't checked out 12, 14? 12, okay.
So you, seems like that's enough room
For the pervious,
to be, yeah, to be pervious,
yeah,
12 or 14.
that would be the best option. Again, it depends on what materials
Mhm.
they decide to narrow down with.
I think the only, yeah, it's all, so in the past, the only thing I can remember is people not being able to find the color they want because they're not pervious pavers. They're not set up that way or made that way to have the little knockouts on them to keep them separated. I guess you could put them in with gaps. I'm not sure how quick that would happen, how quick that would be to install. But it sounds like all of it's there, like you almost were going to make it pervious because of the depth, and maybe that's easy to just make that a requirement.
Okay, so pervious pavers is a yes. Okay, and Brian has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the homeowner is aware that with pervious pavers, you do have to do some maintenance, so it stays pervious. The pavers will come with documentation that'll tell you that, but you will have to do something so you don't lose that capability. That was it, Martha.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this project? Okay, anybody online? Questions or comments? Are there any members of the general public that are here? Okay, I see Andrew has his hand raised, but if you're in the general public, you can also go to the reaction button and use the raise hand function. And I will call on you also. Andrew.
Yeah, Martha, thanks. Brian mentioned there was some plants growing in the wetland resource area, or near the wetland resource area, that we'd would rather not, if possible, But we never really discussed that. So that we noticed some multi-floor rows that we'd want to try to get rid of. And then, but there was also goldenrod and blackberries all growing within that. So would that be one of the conditions that we would want, is to try to remove the invasive species, or is that just a recommendation?
So it would be a recommendation. So we have more opportunity with Riverfront or with variances. But it's a good idea unless, you know, to educate and make sure the applicant understands that this will take over. It's not a very decent habitat for other animals out there. And once it establishes itself, it's really going to become very difficult to move in the future. So.
Yeah, right. I think it was more a question of education and a question of, a lot of times homeowners think that that zone of natural vegetation means you can't do anything. And the answer is, in fact, if you can recognize and identify the invasives, you are allowed to remove the invasives.
Yeah.
But it is important to make sure you are clear on which ones are which, because we had a homeowner in the past cut down a bunch of cherry tree saplings thinking they were buckthorn. So we don't want to do that. You know, if you can recognize the bittersweet and the multiflora rose we showed you, you're more than welcome to keep them from growing into your yard, and leave the goldenrod and the blackberry. Those are good habitat plants. Yeah, but I don't think that should be a condition. It's more an education process. Okay, anybody else? And I don't see any members of the general public having comments, so do we have anything else before we close?
So where we're at now is that the commission would like to understand if the infiltration system can handle the extra capacity, and to talk to the old builder and to see if they have any recommendations about that infiltration system. And then there's the pervious paver detail you asked for. Don't have that either. So those are a couple of things just hanging out there. So with those, if we closed, you would need to ask for them either in between meetings or once before it's issued, or just not close and ask for those so they can be reviewed, and then close and issue at that meeting when you're satisfied with all the documents. So you have a couple of options here.
Okay.
It may not rise to the level of needing to hold it over, but again, it's up to the commission and how comfortable they feel with this project.
Any recommendations from the commission? Brian?
Yeah, I would like to move this along as best we could. We were aware that for various reasons, it's been delayed since May. So I at least would be okay with the process where we covered these things in conditions, and between meetings, if these things could be addressed and allow the homeowner to get to it sooner, that would be my recommendation.
That work for you? Okay, so we'll have Mr. Barnes get back to Chuck with the answers to the questions we asked.
Yeah, so it sounds like the best way to expedite this would be to close and issue tonight with conditions. And one of the conditions would be I'll issue the permit once I receive and am satisfied with that information about infiltration and the pervious paver patio.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can I have a motion to close?
This is Bill McCants. I make a motion to close the hearing.
This is Brian, seconded. Brian, go in favor. Wait, yeah, Brian Bowen in favor, right.
Walter
Are
Talbot in
you,
favor?
are you seconding also, Brian?
I second it and then I vote first.
Oh, sorry, great.
So both.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, and then we need a motion to issue.
Mhm.
This is
Bill
Brian
McCann
make
make
a
a
motion for a negative determination for 18 Lynetta Lane.
Bill McCants, I second.
Brian Bowen in favor.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
I have a question. Is it appropriate to raise? Under a request for determination of applicability, we're voting on whether the work is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, which I think it is, and whether it's subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetland ordinance or bylaw, which I think it is. Those were the boxes that were checked on the application. Just want to make sure we're voting on the right thing here.
So I haven't looked in a while, but I believe N3 is that, yes, we have jurisdiction. It's in the buffer zone, but it's not likely to alter the resource area. So I think that's what we're checking off by checking off N3, which is what Brian meant.
Okay.
Said.
And we're allowed to add a couple of conditions to a negative determination.
That's also one. That's a new form with that says 3 conditions, but there's no
Yeah.
conditions police. At least I haven't seen it yet.
And we've only put 2 in anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're just saying that this is not really, basically saying this work doesn't rise to the level of needing a permit. So, here you are putting conditions on it, so maybe it should be a notice of intent. So that's kind of where DEP is saying this. I mean, determination, you're determining whether it's needs a permit, not using this as a permit. That's in the weeds, but that's what they're trying to do here.
I vote in favor of a negative determination.
Okay, and I vote in favor. And I missed who seconded.
It was Bill and Brian.
Okay, I thought Brian actually did the
Bill
motion.
made the motion, Brian seconded.
Bill made, that was the closing. Was that also true for the other?
No, they're doing like the circle thing. I think
Okay, so
they're
the other
saying that's
order.
exactly opposite for the issue.
Okay, so Bill seconded. Okay. So Brian made a motion for negative determination, Bill seconded. And negative determination allows them to do the work. It sounds bad, but that's what you're looking for. And just as long as you meet those conditions by getting back in touch with Chuck.
Yeah, so that's the only limiting factor on starting.
All right. And the only other piece of information I would like is the names of your 2 other people who came with you, because we put names of everybody who attended in the minutes. Carlos. Spell that, please.
DARWAN.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Right,
Are we all set on that one then?
we are.
Okay, thank you for coming. And we got you out of here before 8 o'clock. Not bad. Thank you.
It's Walter.
So Martha, I know from looking at who's here, we have 30 Collins Ave, both the homeowner, that tree cutting and the company.
So maybe we should bump to
I know
that
Tim
first.
Smith is here also.
Okay.
Colin McKinnon, probably.
And do you need this that has all the,
Yeah, I just wanted to, so they send us the PDF and
and it only copied the
sorry
front?
I missed that, but
Well,
sure I check the next time that we have front and back.
so yeah, we should, bump the order a little bit and go for one of the other hearings where people are actually here in person.
I would recommend 10 Plymouth since that's pretty much resolved.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
You're gonna start out with just letting us know about your site visit.
Okay.
Oh,
Right, so we're gonna skip Meadowbrook right now and move to old new business where 10 Plymouth Drive is requesting a certificate of compliance. And Brian and I went out on a site visit to look at the conditions in the yard.
sure. I'm gonna say, Victor, we're gonna get to you after 10 Plymouth. So I'm just gonna lower your hand and we'll get to you in a few minutes.
And who's here for 10 Plymouth?
Colin McKinnon.
Right,
And is it Colin and Judy?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Brian, do you want to tell the commission what we saw when we went out on the site visit?
No, I've been talking too much already tonight. Why don't you handle this one?
Okay. Colin was there and we talked to him and looked at what we saw in the yard. The green erosion control with green plastic netting around it had all been pulled up. The lawn looks like it's growing in pretty well along the other erosion control line. We discussed two concerns that we had about possible erosion into the wetlands that we were still seeing signs of. One is off the corner of the new garage. From the driveway, there seemed to be erosion that had taken place kind of down the side yard. It does not seem to continue as far as the wetland, but the grass had definitely erosion tracks in it. And then there was one small area in the backyard where the ground was steep enough that the homeowner had planted grass in an area where the soil was disturbed, but there was still sort of a very small cliff, which we were concerned that that small area of cliff had no vegetation to hold it in place. So those were the two issues we were still discussing. And we proposed some solutions to the homeowner to avoid the erosion that would be caused by those two areas.
So
That's all I can remember at the moment.
I did have a conversation with Colin, it was either email or over the phone, I can't remember, busy day. And I think one of the questions he wanted to ask, and Colin, sure, fill in if I'm missing
Okay.
somehow. Did those areas that have erosion rise to the level of holding off on issuing the certificate of compliance? That's what we're trying to understand.
Mhm.
Colin and Judy are trying to understand.
Okay. I'll let Brian answer if he wants, but
Yep.
I also am happy to answer that.
Okay, I'm happy to answer it. So there were two areas we talked about. One was from the flow off the driveway, that definitely does not rise to the level of an obstacle. For this, it's actually more we were discussing what it might become in the future. And we talked about different ways it might, well, first of all, to monitor it, it might be adjusted to try and prevent it from eroding more. When you say erosion, you picture this big gouge in your mind. It's not that at all. There's just a few traces of where it affected the grass that was growing in. The second area, Martha called it a cliff, and that is true in the abstract sense. I'm going to call it 6 inches. It's a little horseshoe-shaped depression. It looks almost as if there was something solid there that was removed. And so leaving this little depression, Colin had planted grass seed there, which had grown in for the most part, just along the upper edge of the cliff. There was still some bare soil. And so we were talking with Colin about being sure to stabilize that part. But again, I think it's pretty minor. I think Colin's done a number of things he pointed out that are the right thing. And so I'd be willing to accept that he'll handle that particular area.
Okay, so I think I agree with Brian that I am comfortable issuing the certificate of compliance. I think the homeowners know what we're looking for, and they're both minor things that they can manage to prevent further erosion in the future without having to come back another time. Okay. Are there any members of the commission who are concerned about these two minor details? Everything else looked good. The plants that we asked them to plant in the corner nearest the wetlands seem to be growing well. So the survivability of that looks good to me as well. I don't see anybody with questions. Okay, so if we're comfortable issuing a certificate of compliance, can I have a motion to that effect?
This is Brian. Will make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 10 Plymouth.
We
Bill
have a
McCants, I'll second the motion.
bill.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCants in favor?
Andrew Driven in favor.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, so you have your certificate of compliance. I guess Chuck can issue that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight and good luck with the last few little details in the backyard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
Take care.
Bill?
And I just wanted to thank you and Brian for doing that crucial site inspection on behalf of the commission.
Oh,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Okay, I understand that we have some people here from Collins.
Yeah.
And I don't see where that is on the agenda, but let's let them in and talk to them.
Yep. So this is, I guess it would go under unexpected.
Not within 48 hours.
Because he sent me some information this morning and wanted to come to the meeting.
Okay,
And I believe they're here with, yeah, here's Victor here. And let's see what, Victor, hi, it's, would you like me to put up either the plan or the narrative that you sent?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so some of the background, so there was a tree company came out and cut down all these trees and no permission. I think there were 7 trees and there was no notice to the Conservation Commission, and it was a surprise. We have someone in the neighborhood made a phone call and we went down there, and I think Brian, did you show up first? It was Brian first, and then I went down there, maybe
I
Martha.
have not been.
Okay, so I've been there. I spent a lot of time there. Martha was there. Sorry, Brian was there also. And I believe that the tree company's here also. I'm just gonna find out. And
Okay, somebody, yeah.
Faith, are you, can you turn your video on and say hi to the Conservation Commission?
Hear me?
Slightly. Can you speak up?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me, how about now?
Oh, much better.
Are you with the tree company that did the work?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, just wanted to make sure we know who we're talking to. Now I'm going to put up the plan and go from
Just
there.
know how to turn on the video. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, how do I turn on the video? Sorry.
It should be on the left-hand side at the bottom. Looks like an old-fashioned TV, I think.
Okay. Start video. There we go.
Yeah, that might work.
Oh, that worked.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me get both of them up here. Here's the restoration. There you go. Sorry that took so long. So they're going to plant 4 native New England trees and 6 native New England shrubs on the property in the buffer zone, as indicated on the map. 2 red maple, 2 birch, Jersey blueberry, blue crop, and a northern bayberry, summer sweet, and those are the list of the trees that and shrubs that'll go in there. So I'll still attend the October 15, 2003 conservation meeting, and he's attached to the plan.
Yeah, I think it's actually the October 25th meeting.
October 25th, yeah. So
Do we have a?
that's the list of the plans that we're going to do. Oops, what did I do here? And here's the area coming up on the screen now. And I don't know if does that work for everyone? Can you see that well?
Yes.
Should I zoom in a bit? Okay. Victor, I think you're going to need to tell us what each color represents.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, hello, everybody. So the yellow color, it is, let me see here. The two yellow color is the Jersey blueberry, okay? And then next is the purple color, the Versimillion blue crop. And then the next one, the like an orange color, is the red maple. And between the 2 green color is the birch. And then afterward is the blue the blue color is northern bayberry. And the last one, the gray color, it is the compass summer sweet. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got shrubs at the 2 ends and 2 red maples with 2 birches in between. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I'm curious where the trees were that were removed. Since I didn't go to the property, I don't know where the removed trees are compared to where the planted trees are going to be.
So Martha,
Yeah.
I can answer that. Towards the top of this row of plantings, there was a cluster of, I believe, 5 up there. Likewise, down towards the bottom of this row, there were 3 or 4, and then there were 1 or 2 along the slope where the 42,000 plus number is.
Okay.
Is it possible to scroll down a little bit? There we
And
go. Thank you.
Does that work?
Again?
Yes.
What kind of trees were removed?
I'm sorry. Mostly it's maple, but I don't know the trees, but I know this is maple. That's the only tree I recognize. I don't recognize the other trees.
Do you know if they were Norway maples or native?
Actually, no, by the time I got there, all the uppermost parts were gone. And so all I saw was stumps, so I can't identify from stumps.
So it sounds the trees were more or less the same distance from the wetland as the proposed replacement trees.
Yes.
Okay,
And I'm sorry, again, what did the yellow signify?
blueberry
Those are the blueberry, and then the purple is below it, or?
are the also blueberry. They're called vaccinium blue crop, but vaccinium is a blueberry as well.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the red maples weren't going near the building or close to construction, so that in many years, we wouldn't be back here with an issue of tree grown too close.
Okay. Anybody on the commission with questions or comments on this replanting plan?
Martha, my comment would be for the red maples, again, to use native varieties and not the horticultural varieties. Avoid things like the autumn blaze and the red sunset, October glory.
Okay.
Try and go with something that's truly a native New England plant.
Victor, are you the one who's going to be purchasing these, or do you have a landscaper who's going to be helping you with this?
I'm going to purchase it. I went to actually the week before, I went to Northeast Garden Nursery in Peabody. So yeah, I have them to give me two, and then that's why the tree I asked that the true native of New England, and that is the tree they recommended me. And they still have in stock because I want to get this done as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, I called them today also. They said they still have it, but they have only two birds left. So if it's approved by the commission, I'm going to there tomorrow and make sure they have, and then I'm going to plan it as soon as possible. Whenever have a landscaper to plan it. Yeah.
So you understood Tony's concern is that the two red maples that they have should be original species native red maples and not a horticultural variety with a special name like Autumn Blaze and October Glory and things like that. They should just be a red maple.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So because last time when I went there, they said October Glory. Yeah. So if this case, probably I need to wait for next year to plant those red maple, so maybe some other maple tree. If this case, they don't have in stock the maple tree. I understand that. So I just want to make sure they are true native of New England.
Yeah. And
True native.
yeah, true native is what you're looking for. And there are other nurseries that might have them. And maybe you could check with Chuck and he could help you find one.
Oh,
Unless
sure.
it's one right off the head.
Be better if you told them.
Okay.
I can send that information to you again.
You can mention it now too. I just don't feel comfortable doing it.
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable giving a recommendation.
Okay.
If
You don't want to be
could,
stuck
as
in
a
it.
commission member, it would be fine.
Yeah, there were a number of other nurseries in the area that stock native species. Bigelow Nursery is one. I think they're out in Northborough. There are others nearby. I know that they've had them in stock recently. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it.
Okay. So what is the name of the nursery?
He said Bigelow.
Bigelow. Where is that?
Northborough, Massachusetts.
Northborough. Okay. So maybe tomorrow I just give go get right there. Yeah. Okay. The other thing here, if they don't, in case some don't care, I understand that we care about the red maple there. If in case they don't have the 2 trees, can I plant the rest and then the springtime I'm going to plant the red maple?
Yeah, that seems fine.
I don't know how to put the raise hand icon on the screen, but I have the information on the trees that were cut if you're interested.
Sure.
Oh, great. All right.
So I have 1 pine, 2 maples, and the rest were red oaks.
Oh, that's what was taken down?
Yes,
1
ma'am.
pine, 2 maples, and the rest were oaks.
Correct.
All right.
Do you know if the maples were Norway maples or sugar maples? Red?
I don't think they were red, they were sugar.
Okay.
And if there aren't any native red maples, if there are native sugar maples, that would seem to be an appropriate in-kind replacement.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. If this is the case, I plant sugar maple then instead of the red maple.
Yes, that would be fine.
All right, and I would also say if some of the trees that came down were oaks, if you wanted to plant a native oak, I would be okay with that as well. Oaks are a high value species for wildlife. There's lots of acorns for the wildlife to eat. But again, we're hoping for like a native white oak or a native red oak, not a special variety with fancy names.
Cultivar.
Cultivar, yeah. Brian, you have your hand up?
Actually, Andy had his up first.
Okay, Andy, you had your hand up first?
Sure. So, Sage, thanks for getting the info on the trees. Do you know how many oaks were taken down?
I believe 4.
4, so we're talking about a total of 7 trees?
Yes.
Okay. And how many trees, what is the proposed? I know they were talking about the 2 maples, but
And 2 birches, so that makes 4 trees, and they're planting 6 shrubs based on the 2 shrubs per tree general rule of thumb.
all right.
And the Jersey blueberry and the vaccinium blue crop would both be a blueberry of some kind. And then you've got the bayberry and the summer sweet.
And I think it was brought up at the last meeting. I don't want to steal Bill's thunder. So. Yes. He doesn't have his hand up, so I'll let everyone know that the regulations do specify a size to qualify for the 2 shrubs. And it would be more if it was under that size. I believe that size was 4 or 5 feet. Sure, Bill can, I can look it up, but Bill.
Yeah, it was, that's right. It was at least 5 if it's 2 to 1. Or excuse me, yeah, it's at least 5 if it's 2 to 1. If it's under that, it's 3 to 1. Yep, that's correct.
So 5 feet.
5 feet, yep. 5 feet is the minimum to get the 2 to 1.
So Victor, those shrubs will have to be at least 5 feet to 2 to 1, or you'll have to plant additional shrubs.
5 feet tall.
Okay, all right. So yeah, if lower than 5 feet to how many I need to plant?
3.
3. Okay. Okay.
So it's 3 to 1.
Okay.
So I would make up to 9 shrubs if your shrubs were too small.
Okay.
You could put them in basically the same places where you were putting the 6 shrubs. You could just put a clump of 3 instead of a pair.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep. So Victor, it's about getting reliable information for the shrubs you choose. How high does this typically grow? And they'll be able to tell you that.
Okay.
So Bill, you're saying it doesn't have to be 5 feet tall when planted,
Yeah,
5 feet tall at its full
Maturity.
height.
Right, and that's what we talked about with the applicant last time is they weren't sure it would, they thought, I think it'll get to 5 feet. And that's right on the line. So if you buy a shrub, Victor, and the establishment says to you, here's the typical height it gets to, and it's over 5 feet, you've got a 2-for-1. But if they're not sure it's going to get to 5 feet, it's a 3-to-1 replacement ratio. So that's what you want to be thinking about.
Okay, I understand now. It's not that the tree that I plant had to be certain height. Is after mature, it will go to certain heights. Okay.
As I understand this, because what we're concerned about is what does it look like at maturity, right? Not the day it's planted.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, as long as when they mature, they're over 5 feet. That is all I can. And those trees are over 5 feet, 5 to 6 feet. Those shrub, I talked to them, and there's label there. Each shrub has the label there to tell when they mature how tall, how big they can grow.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And
So-
Drew, did you have more to ask?
Yeah, I may have missed it, but I was curious why, Victor, you took the trees down?
Because like my wife want to have a little garden there to grow something, and we have so many trees in the backyard there. That's when you look at my property, and I'm the new owner. I just moved in, and then I said, "Oh my goodness, there's so many trees." And then my wife want to open up the space for the sun to come in, you know. And also there's a tree down there. It's so close to the shrub, to the shack. So I think I maybe just go to cut down, and it's a main mistake, you know, because I never knew that. Oh, my property is so close to the wetland, you know. Yeah, because I didn't even see anything when the tree here, you know, and then I call my neighbor on right side, left side. I told them I'm going to cut down some tree. I wish they let me know that, oh, your property is wetland. You need to apply for a permit. That would be nice. But all they say, oh, thank you for let us know, you know. So that's the being made, yeah.
Okay, I understand.
you
and
know who one of those neighbors are, right? Yeah.
I think I'm familiar. So good. I'm glad you're here now. Appreciate that. And yeah, we like to see what the plan is, especially when we're dealing with old oaks, which are my particular favorites. But they're down, so I'm comfortable with what we're talking about. And I haven't seen your yard, so I was kind of curious why they're kind of planted in a line like that. I mean, but I'm not seeing your yard, and I don't want to design it for you. Whatever works for your situation. I know Chuck will probably check it out too. So all's looking good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, Brian?
Yeah, I should have gone before Andy because he touched on my question to you, Victor, but what I wanted to ask you is, so you had told me that you cleared it so your wife could have a garden. So now you're planting trees. What are your plans for a garden?
And the garden is on the existing there. Remember, there are three shrubs there. I cut it down already. That is the area we're going to use for garden. It's not down there, but that area needs some light, you know. So that's why we're going to use that as a garden.
So you're gonna have a garden and have some trees.
Yeah, the garden will grow some kind of like some kind of vegetable stuff, you know, just summertime, you know. Yeah,
That's fine. I was just dealing with a situation where the trees then grow up and get shady again and have another cutting incident.
I think if this case, probably we need by the time when the tree grow up, and then we just move the garden, move in a little bit, you know. Yeah, just
Okay.
move in.
All right. And my main point is actually for you, Sage. So I'm more than disappointed that this happened. It didn't take much digging at all, looking at a GIS map to see that the wetlands were right there. Additionally, I walked down slope. I hadn't gone 20 feet and I saw standing water. I don't understand how your company could have let this happen. I don't understand how whoever did the estimation didn't go that far towards the wetlands. Can you explain how this happened and more importantly, why it won't happen again?
Well, I wasn't there, so I can't answer intelligently on the decision on behalf of the guys that were in the field. The owner was there. Today I'm really representing the company as the admin person because I'm the only one that speaks 100% English and understands. The owner speaks about 80, so he's not as fluent. But from what I understand, he told me that somebody visited from the municipality before they cut the trees.
And do you have a name for this magic person?
I'll have to ask him. He's
So basically you're saying that your crews don't speak English and therefore couldn't check out properly that there was standing water, 40
no,
feet.
I mean, we normally do that. We've done two inquisitions right now into two other municipalities that are right next to wetlands and a golf course and other
So
towns.
hang on a second. So you said you normally do it. That's what I want to know. Why didn't it happen this time? Where was the breakdown?
I'll have to find that out for you.
I
That's not
don't
a
believe
great
this was
answer.
checked out by anybody in town hall, certainly not me. But I would assume that they talked to Victor. Victor, did you have someone from town hall show up and approve the tree removal?
No, because I didn't have the idea I need to get a permit. No, I never, the only thing is I wish my neighbor, they knew that, because I do inform my neighbor and then all they say, just thank you for let them know, this is, if my neighbor tell me, oh yeah, there's a wetland, you need to get permit.
Victor, that's okay, Victor. We understand that you didn't get much help from the sides, but anyway, now you know. But Mr. Morales, I would suggest that you get the answer to how this went wrong. And can you call Chuck back to let him know how it happened and why it won't happen again? Chuck, you don't like that?
I will, yes.
Okay. Because, if you can't do better than this, perhaps you shouldn't work in Reading.
Okay, I think
Okay,
you've drilled that in enough, Brian. Bill's had his hand up for a while. Let's get Bill a chance to talk.
Just a quick friendly point, Victor. Members of this commission know that with tree and shrub replacement, particularly with shrubs, people plant it and just forget about it. And so we've been to properties, 2 years later, where shrubs are in very poor shape. And even though they might have the potential to grow, 5 feet or more, if they're not cared for, they won't. So that's just some friendly advice based on extensive commission experience in these matters. It really makes a difference how much tender loving care you give to those new plantings. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I have a comment now.
Okay, Chuck.
Yeah, so I think that we have two situations. I don't think that we need to I think we need to keep in control of these two situations. One with Victor, the owner at 30 Collins Ave. I believe typically it would be some sort of permit or an enforcement order with some instructions on it, and that would stay active until the requirements are complete. As far as the company goes, I don't think that Sage getting back to me with the information is sufficient for this action. And maybe it's the commission that he needs to come back and tell what's going on and research that. Our policy allows us to not only hold the homeowner responsible for tree cutting, which is on our town website, but also the company that does the tree. So it's not the homeowner's responsibility, and the company, the tree company, can't hide behind the fact that the homeowner didn't know what was going on. The tree company is going to run into, X times more tree jobs than a homeowner would. And we need this tree company to understand that the first thing you want to do when you're taking down a tree is to check out the general vicinity of the tree and make sure there are no issues. But even so, if you had taken that step, you could call the conservation office and say, we have a plan, and this is what other companies in town are doing. So, you may know. They're all calling the conservation office and they're saying, look, I have a job here, is there any issues? And then they have that homeowner get the tree permit. And they come back. And so a lot of tree companies are saying, well, we're not going to do that because they won't use us if they have to get a permit because no one else is saying it. Well, that's not true here in Reading because the majority of the companies that consistently work here in Reading are requiring their homeowners to get permits for the tree work. So you're not put under the cart in any way by requiring that and by being honest with your applicants and be honest with your customers. So I'm not sure how we're going to move from here, but I don't want to just let it go. I want some direction from the commission to say it's an enforcement order, both, and these are the instructions that need to take place from here forward, and this is how it may end.
Bill?
I agree with that, Chuck. I think
Yeah.
this should be reported back to the commission.
Okay, Bill had his hand up.
Yep, and I also agree, and as the commission knows, and it's a matter of public record, we even had the railroad come in and report after something had gone awry, and this is a much more, in some ways, serious situation than that. And they looked into it, and they had to come back and talk to us and answer questions and so forth. So I do think this is the proper way to go. Especially given the long context that Chuck has explained for other businesses in this area, and of course, Reading's posture. Any of us who've had building projects, remodeling, etc., know that Reading takes lots of these things seriously. When they put up that little letter on your home to do work, those inspectors will come out and they will not allow work to go forward. Well, very much so with conservation as well. So,
Well, I agree with everything you said. I think the measure of having homeowners require a permit that's given the okay by you guys is a good measure. Obviously, that is not something that all the municipalities can do because it's just, it's a matter of public knowledge and people going out there and checking out the sites. I did contact the owner. He did say no. He corrected me in saying that nobody came out before it was cut. But he did say that Victor said that the trees were his. And just like Victor noted and said, he didn't know that there was wetlands back there and that there were any restrictions. We will make sure that if we work in Reading again, we'll check with you guys again. One of the things he did say was that he didn't imagine in that area that it was anything close to looking like wetlands. So he didn't feel uneasy at any point.
Okay. It does sound like if he walked back away from the house, he would have seen standing water, and the the GIS maps show where the wetland lines are. And I think it's not just the town of Reading, but the entire state where anything within 100 feet of a wetland line is inside the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So I think it is important for your company owner to understand that in any town they work in, it would be good when they send somebody out to do an estimate to pull up that GIS map and look to see where the nearest wetland line is. And if you look at the map Chuck had up for the plot plan, the wetland line went right through the property. So it's not hard to find.
Yeah, I don't want to steal Andy's thunder, but I'm gonna let you know that I am very uneasy with the answer that the owner gave. To say that he didn't recognize a wetland in that area seems to be, almost impossible. I'm wondering how we could quickly educate someone at this company to understand the steps that they need to take, not only in our town, but in other towns. And it will help you because you don't want a reputation. And I can tell you, like, there used to be 2 companies in this town that always worked on Saturday and they never got a permit. And so they're no longer working here. So different commission tried to make sure that they always had to show up in front of the Conservation Commission. We never cut any corners. We had them come every single time and take up all of their time in town. We would stop their jobs and ask them to get permits before they moved. And they had the equipment, the cranes, everything there. And that's a lot of money to stop. So you don't want to be in that position. But my concern is, how do we get the owner, the estimator, or somebody that works with the company to understand how to recognize wetlands? Because it's not right. Sorry, Tony. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science just to get a good idea. And then that information can be passed on to others in the company. And you'll not have to say that again, that you didn't realize. And what Martha said about the plans, that they're not always accurate. It's really boots on the ground, checking out the site for yourself, knowing that it's 100 feet in every direction that has to be dry. Certain ferns, flat areas, silt stained leaves, things like that, it's obvious stuff. Sorry, Andrew, Andy, you can take over now.
No,
I must say that I need to beg to differ that he does know the difference between dryland and wetlands. And I've been there personally also in the field at the time. We've recognized areas that are questionable, next to creeks, things like that. I don't know if Victor can help or answer when he did the.
Well, if that's the case, I think you should meet me out there, because I am going to open your eyes to what's out there, because it seems like you didn't look. It's very obvious. And so, and if you know what a wetland is, then we have a different problem.
Okay, Andrew has his hand up. Andrew, your turn.
Yeah, I did everything Chuck and Brian have been saying. I mean, my one concern, what you said, is that the owner said he owned the trees, and that's one thing that I hear often. We're not claiming that this was on conservation land. We are arguing that this was adjacent to a wetland, which is the Massachusetts regulation that was within the conservation's jurisdiction to have oversight over what happens in that land. So if an owner says they own the trees, that doesn't mean that the regulations don't apply. I think you understand that, but that is what you said. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
No, I understand that. And I think almost everything that's done in municipalities at your level with these type of discussions and permits, whether it's construction or anything else, I think the general public needs to be educated a lot more than what's posted on a website.
Yeah, but I think Chuck's point is that the tree companies that are coming in and cutting down the trees there's a limited number of tree companies that have been working in Reading, and they have all been educated. I know how much work you've done in Reading as your tree company. It's not a name I'm familiar with. So we're trying to do the education with you to help you understand that it is important to look and see whether you are working within 100 feet of a wetland. And so if you're going to be cutting trees, it's part of the training for the people who are going out to estimate the jobs that they need to be able to look and see whether they're within 100 feet of a wetland. Brian.
So I've been texting with the owner as we're speaking, and he did mention that he was more than 100 feet than, from whatever he noticed that was wet. But it would probably be a good exercise just to keep friendly between all of us to have either Chuck or somebody else go out there and reiterate the area, just so that there's no nothing left behind or something misunderstood.
What do you mean by that? Reiterate the area?
Oh, I mean, just, re-educate them, like you said. You'd like to really show them, because you said it was quite
The owner. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'd like to do that.
I mean,
So
at the end of the day, we don't want to lose the capability of going and do business and cut trees in Reading because of this one particular event.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we only want to know that we're working together with your company and help spreading the word. And just for your own edification, so we would always do this, whether it was one of the chairs, one of the commissioners, we would measure from the wetland to where the trees were cut. And I did that with Victor. So there was no guessing. And so we did a measurement and with our tape. And so I know that where the trees were cut, where the work was taking place was within 100 feet.
Now, is it possible that this is a changing, what's the word that I could use? The edge of the water, does it fall and rise like a tide?
So the wetland edge is often thought about as the water, standing water or visible water by most homeowners, but there's a vegetation layer and a soil layer that you need to understand. So the water's edge is a helpful indicator, but you have to realize that the wetland can be up to 10 or more feet in front of that, depending on how flat the ground is, because it's the vegetation out in that area. So the eye that we want you to start developing is to understand where the water is, but then back up from that and see the ferns and see the different trees and see that there's no pine trees in that area. They're all deciduous trees. Or you could call the conservation office and
No, I think that's the best policy moving
and
forward.
do that. It's good to have you guys out there. A lot of people just call all the time. And then when I go through the process with you, you'll start to recognize these things. Better safe than sorry. I mean, obviously, that's a good rule of thumb. I'd love to meet the not the homeowner, but the business owner out there.
Brian had his hand up. Are you all set, Brian?
No, not close. So in the interest of trying to wrap this up, though, I'd like to suggest that the planting plan is fine. If you could add an oak tree, well, that would be great. And as far as the company goes, we talked about you folks putting together an idea of how this happened and coming back to the commission. I'd like to see the business owner come along. Maybe you come with them if there's any issues with communication, but I'd like to see him here with us so we can be sure that we're getting clear communication with the person who actually owns the business. So that's, I think would be good. Last thought is we talked about an enforcement order. Chuck, do you still think that's an appropriate thing to do? I do.
Unless we're gonna have them, unless we're going to ask for 2 permits. I think the easiest way to do this would be an enforcement order for 30 Collins Ave for, that requires true native plants to be planted and a 3-year survivability, which is typically what we ask for. And then that would be something that we could continually monitor, and have some control over this process. For the company, I think one of the requirements I just finished writing down is for the owner to meet me at this site. If that's okay with Victor. And then we could just kind of go over where we're at with how to ID a wetland and go through this process. But also there was a request to find out what kind of steps had taken place prior to accepting the job to figure out whether you were close to a wetland or not. And so there was some information required by the Conservation Commission. And there may be others when we open it up to the Conservation Commission to come back to another meeting and follow up on this with what safeguards this company's put in place to make sure this doesn't happen again, not only in our community, but others.
I'd like to suggest that I be invited to that site visit as well. And maybe Chuck, you can coordinate a time with Sage, the business owner, and you and I go out there together to look at the site where the trees were cut and where the wetland line is. And we should do that before they come back in front of the commission. So we've had a chance to have the 4 of us go out there and see it boots on the ground before we have a meeting where we ask the owner to come back to the meeting.
And actually, Martha, I think that's good, but I'd like to be there also.
Okay, so 5 of us. Chuck, is that all right with you? Can you coordinate that with Sage?
Sure, just I think might be all set at this point. So if we could get the commission to make a motion to issue 2 enforcement orders for, describing what you want, planting and the 3-year survivability for the homeowner. And then for the company, it would be meet the conservation agent and commissioners, what safeguards they're going to put in place to ensure this doesn't happen again. And then how did we get here in the first place? It seems like a follow-up meeting with the commission may be appropriate, but since the chair and the vice chair are at this site visit, it's only 2 of you. Maybe you could discuss it at that point. I don't know.
Okay.
It's only 2, but if more members take place, then there would be a public meeting. You may end up having to come back to a meeting to discuss the details.
I mean, it seems to me that it's in the owner's best interest to listen to the advice that was given tonight and to heed it.
The company owner.
The company owner, yeah. It doesn't really affect us whether they work in Reading or not. It affects them a lot more than it does us. So I think there's a big responsibility on the company and on the owner. I think you've bent over backwards to be amicable and accessible to resolve this. So the message should have gotten through tonight. If you think a site visit's going to be productive, then go through with it. But I think after that, either they have the message or they don't.
Do you want to say so moved, and then we'll get a vote on both these?
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay.
We do need.
Brian, I second it.
Tony moved and Brian second. And
Brian Bowe in favor.
hold on, what we're moving is 2 enforcement orders as described by Chuck, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you can vote.
Brian Bowe, still in favor.
Walt Talbot, all in favor.
Bill McCants in favor of both.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
All right. All right, Victor and Sage, thank you, and be in touch, and hopefully we can line up the site visit soon. Are you in the area? Is there any particular days that work? We work Monday through Thursday here in Reading. But you can give me a call tomorrow or we can communicate through email, whichever works best for you.
Okay, I'll pass on the information to the owner. I'm in agreement with everything you said. We'd like to help. We're not evading any issue, and any further education would behoove all of us, I think.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience. And Victor, thanks for all the emails and phone calls. I know that you're really trying to find those trees. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night to both of you.
Good night.
Okay.
All right, do we have any other general public waiting to come to this, or is it just down to us now?
It's just down to us.
Okay. Do we have any word on the Meadowbrook access easement?
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that before Fidel leaves, that we will have that in hand. But it's not finalized yet.
Okay, still in process.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say before Fidel leaves?
Oh, have you not heard that he has accepted a job as the city manager in Chelsea?
No. Okay.
And January 1st is his first day in Chelsea?
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
And another quick question about town business while we're on that subject. Any idea when town council will get around to reviewing our draft regs?
So yes, I have a plan for that, and thank you for asking. They're finished. There were 2 comments. I'm going to put those in the next packet, or I could even send them earlier than that. The commission will review and vote on those comments. And then if there weren't any, substantive changes with those comments, we will have our public meeting on our last meeting this year of December 8th. So it seems like November's meeting will be, I think it's December 8th, but our December meeting. Our review of those 2 comments in November, public meeting, and approve in December.
Very good news, Chuck. Thank you.
Welcome. I can continue to say that I got a notification from National Grid, who claims that they're exempt from as exempt activity, maintenance activity. I've always maintained that the company can't declare that they're exempt. It's the Conservation Commission's authority to review their project and make that determination themselves. But in this case, they were hardly in the resource area at all, working on existing roads. And I did say that they could move forward with their project. But if it had been closer and not 98 feet away, the commission would be hearing from National Grid. If you want the list of the roads, I could give them to you. It's Oak Ridge Road, Sylvan Road, Pine Ridge Road, Gleason Road. It's only Oak Ridge and Pine Ridge that are within the very outer buffer zone. They will also be putting in their own BMPs, and they're working with BSC, which is something that we requested here in this town when they worked down on Walkersbrook Drive, because we weren't satisfied with the old consultants that they had. So they made that change for us.
Okay. Any other administrative report stuff?
Yes, so the administrative report is a land use summit by the Trails Committee, Town Forest Committee, and they would like to have the Conservation Commission. They'd like me to set it up and to everyone get together and talk about how to work better together. You know, I would assume this might be at the Matera cabin, but I just wanted to know, and send out some dates, if there's any objections to that, if it should be on a weeknight or a weekend. How you feel about that? I mean, I'm assuming that it would be fine with the commission.
Not opposed to
Yeah,
figuring out a way to make things work smoothly.
yeah, you're pretty close with the town forest anyways, with all the scouting activity and all that, and town forest committee, and I think that a couple people in the town forest committee through that venture. Sure. Yeah, I think it's long overdue. We've worked at this really hard to get trails, town forest, and we're still not there. Conservation, to all understand where we stand. So this is a great next step.
I like the idea of doing it at Matera Cabin. So maybe you could check availability of Matera Cabin. But in general, conservation members, do we have a weeknight evening that we're all free, or do we need to go for a weekend? Anybody have particular constraints?
Approximately when are we thinking this would happen?
I was only set out to get your approval to move forward with this. And we're coming up on the holidays, so I'm not sure. It could actually be next year. So all that needs to be discussed. There's no other point person. It's just me. And that's why I want to know if we're starting thinking about weekends or weeknight would be okay, because then I could just do like a doodle poll or something like that and send that out to people.
And on one hand, fall sports are ending, so there's a whole new winter schedule that's going to appear, and I'd like to wait a couple of weeks after that to see how the dust settles, to figure out whether a weeknight or a weekend would be most available. But if we're not really thinking of anything in the immediate future, if we're thinking after the new year, that might be.
I would like to throw something else into the mix. First of all, I think this is great. I've been yapping about this for a long time, but I think we should have a prep meeting before the meeting so we can decide what it is and what points we want to make, and just essentially brainstorm ahead of time. So we go in there with some thoughts and some plans for how we want to approach this. So basically planning two meetings.
And do you think that your prep meeting for that could be part of an agenda for a November or December meeting?
My only concern there is that since we only have one meeting in those 2 months, they tend to be pretty full agendas. So, I mean, that would be what dictates it, whether or not we had a relatively light agenda. Just doesn't seem like a likely outcome.
Okay. So that makes it sound like we should wait till.
Yeah, that's really gonna push this off. I think that, so Brian, I understand, but they're not gonna be prepared like that either. You might just wanna start it out by having that conversation with all those other committees, and then bring back the information. We'll discuss it here at one of our meetings, and you could propose to meet again in the future with the Trails Committee and the Town Forest Committee. And then we could really think about January as maybe the kickoff for this.
Yeah, I mean, that's an approach. And I do see this meeting, at least at the moment, is a one-off. My thought is it'd be better if we had a recurring meeting once a quarter, let's say, whatever, much the same way we do with DPW, just to give us a forum to cover these issues that seem to come up on a fairly regular basis, and have a planned way to address those things. But it's not the worst idea to go in here one off and shoot it for, have agenda for us to be, to get the next meeting organized and maybe even come up with topics.
Yeah, that seems like an excellent question to ask at the forum.
I'd be okay with that.
So maybe Chuck could suggest some weekends and some weekdays, weeknights, in January. And we'll see whether we can come up with one that most people are available to attend.
Sounds good.
And we'll
Okay.
aim for January and see what happens. That work for people?
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll work on it and I'll bring something back, even keep you informed through emails and then discuss it again in November. So there's been a lot of dumping down at Lobbs Pond. Lobbs Pond's off, is it Sanborn?
Mill Street?
Mill Street, Sanborn to Mill, right? Sanborn to Mill, up by the Matera Cabin area. There's been dumping there. There's been a request made to install a no dumping sign. I have a no dumping sign. I can ask the DPW for the pool and whatnot. Can I get a motion to allow me to install a no dumping sign at Lobbs Pond?
Would this be the parking area off of Mill Street?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
would we do a camera as well?
Yeah, do we have an extra camera we could post?
yeah, that might be, yeah, we do. And,
Temporarily?
well, actually, no, we don't. We don't have any cameras. They're all gone.
Well, Chuck, we have the one that I've used already at Pinevale. And
Covert
since we have-
operation.
Since we have the photo already, that one could be installed over at the Mill Street parking lot. What is that smile for?
The covert operation. Okay,
Well, at least let's.
yeah, we have
start
that
with the
option.
sign.
We have that option and we can move forward from there also. So do I have approval to take our sign, our last sign, so we'll be buying the next one and install it?
Do we have a motion in favor of installing a sign in the parking area off of Mill Street at Lobbs Pond? Lobbs
I
Mill?
will, this is Bill McCants. I will so move.
Brian, did you second?
I most certainly did.
Okay. And please vote.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Ramona Lake is in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
All right.
Okay. All right, it was good. We bought plenty of signs when we bought those signs.
Do we think they work?
Yeah, we put one in on Longwood. And that's where Carl Ciccone lives. And we put one or two on there. And he said they work great.
Strange.
Work great there. They
So-
don't work good everywhere. As a matter of fact, in Pineville, I think someone pulled it out and threw it on the ground, but that's what I was told.
Oh, and that should get reinstalled, by the way.
Maybe when we ask the DPW to install the one at Lobbs Pond Mill, they can go back and replant the one at Pineville. Because it's there, it's just flat.
Is this new person someone you need to,
What new person?
we don't see that? Bruce McKenzie?
Oh, he's probably just listening in. I don't see him.
Let me, okay,
Do we have any other topics for conversation? We have minutes for approval. Is there anything else before we do that? Okay. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes that Chuck sent out attached to the agenda?
I did not. They would not get through my software defense. It's flagged as
Interesting.
dangerous.
Interesting.
They are, they're very dangerous.
Okay.
That's a
would
likely
everyone else?
excuse, Tony.
I'll send you the screenshot.
Okay, so how do we solve that problem?
It's one out of one member. Did everyone else?
Okay,
I mean, you can move forward, or you can give Tony the option of waiting till next week, but you could move forward if everyone else was able to download and review.
did everybody else get a chance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, are you willing to have us vote without your reading them?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes for October 11th?
Mr. Brian, I make a motion to approve the minutes for October 11th.
This is Andrew. I will second it.
Rainbow in favor.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCants in favor?
Andrew Driven in favor.
Tony Rotalakis, abstain.
And Martha Moore in favor. So we have 5 in favor, 1 abstain, and no opposed. Okay. And I think if you have trouble getting the thing to download in the future, let me know or let Chuck know, and we'll figure out a way to send it to you.
First time it happened, never happened.
I would have, yeah, if you let me know, I would print them out and send it to you.
Or make a PDF and send it. Yeah, there ought to be some way. Okay, so just give us a heads up and we can be helpful next time if it happens. All right, let's hope it doesn't. Okay, do we have any other business or can we adjourn at 9:10 PM?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, don't second that, please. You were gonna give me permission to sign off on Joy Lane.
Ah, that's right. The other business we had was Brian and I and Andrew and Walter went over to off of Howard Ave at Joy Lane and looked at the site. And Chuck says that the things that we were pointing out were really certificate of compliance issues and not occupancy. So it sounds like we could give them the certificate of occupancy now. And Chuck has talked to Steve Knight about the issues and he has said he will work on them before he applies for the certificate of compliance. Is that correct?
Right, and he'd like to get his certificate of compliance ASAP.
His occupancy ASAP.
No, both.
Both.
He wants the certificate of occupancy, which is a building permit kind of sign off. And that's why it's not really something the Conservation Commission in this town, this might be different in other towns, can really hold up too much. But we looked to see if there were any major problems. Problems you identified were something that I would expect to see when, when we do a certificate of compliance. So let's say they didn't do the infiltration system, which was part of the approval. That's a big deal. And so you would think about not allowing me to sign off on the occupancy. What the building department does at that point is up to them. But that didn't happen here. And so I'd like permission to sign off on the occupancy. And Steve did say he's going to look at that detention basin and check out the plantings that you mentioned. He's going to put in some geotextile on the steep slopes, because I explained that we do have that requirement about slopes, but it only means that you can't just pack them in when they're that steep. You have to do something to prevent erosion. And so he'll be doing that and he'll let us know, and the rest of the stuff will come up. So I talked to him twice today.
All right, and I had noticed that on the plans, there were some trees planted along the end of the driveway and along the cul-de-sac that I didn't notice. We only noticed the arborvitae around the back of the house.
Yeah,
Are those plantings?
those are the trees he's going to be planting.
Okay, he'll be planting those still.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we comfortable with issuing a certificate of occupancy now?
You're not, no,
No,
you're just allowing me.
allowing Chuck.
So
Okay,
you can just say yes, it's not really.
we don't have to vote.
Actually, you could vote.
Okay.
You can just,
Okay, so what we're asked for right now is for Chuck to be able to sign the certificate of occupancy.
right,
And then later we will approve the certificate of compliance. Is that correct?
yeah, don't combine them, just the motion should,
Yeah.
should be, a motion to allow Chuck to sign off on the certificate of occupancy for 19 Joy Lane.
Okay,
18 Joy Lane.
19.
Brian Bowen make a motion to authorize Chuck to sign a certificate of occupancy for 19 Joy Road. Anyone?
Second the motion.
Brian
Thank
Bowen, favor.
Okay, voting, Brian, start.
Again, Brian is still in favor.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Walter Talbot in favor.
Bill McCann in favor?
Andrew Gibbon in favor.
Tony Rotalakis, I'll abstain.
Okay, and Martha Moore in favor. So 5 with 1 abstain. Okay. And does that finish all the business we had to attend to tonight?
Yes, it's what I am.
Okay. All right, can we have a motion to adjourn at 9:15?
So a motion to adjourn at 9:15.
Second.
I second
All-
myself.
In favor.
Okay.
All right, thanks,
All
everybody.
right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.